there are different ways of doing it.
Okay.
Ministry advises us this is the correct way of doing it.
Okay, thank you.
The administrator is asking for approval in principle to continue with the negotiation of the potable water servicing and infrastructure agreement with KIP. Pending incorporation of the Board of Trustees' input from our July 18, 2017 CAL and the in-camera meeting into the potable water servicing and infrastructure agreement with KIP, bid lawyer review and negotiation of the final lease agreement for both the fire department and water treatment plant location. And I should add in there the amendment to the lease agreement on the existing facility. Okay? So I guess what we're asking for here is a motion from the board to have our administrator continue with what we have, with the course of action we decided the board to take. So can I have a motion for that?
I make a motion as read.
Okay, you gonna have a seconder?
Charles.
Okay. And those in favor? Trustee Calvin? Yea or nay?
There's no discussion?
Well, no, not really. It's just, we've already had the discussion. He outlined everything he was doing. And, and we have agreed to this actually in camera anyway.
Well, I would just like to add that that it is contingent on all of the items that this is the critical
Yes.
piece here. That it's
Yes,
contingent on.
there's nothing really hanging on this. No deal's been inked yet, but as I understand it, we have agreed. The last reading we had of the agreement with KIP, we all agreed that this was what we were going to do, and it was.
But it says very clearly in here, within the motion itself, it says pending incorporation of the Board of Trustees' input from our July 18 CAL and in-camera meeting into the potable water servicing agreement with KIP. So it's basically taking everything that we talked about at our in-camera meeting and the information that I supplied to you in the package today that incorporated into the agreement.
Right, but if it gets returned without those items, what then?
Well,
Then we don't sign it.
we don't sign it.
We don't, not even sign it, like we don't, all I'm asking for, and I'll simplify it a little bit, is, all I'm asking for is to be able to get approval from the board to continue, because we had our meeting. There's three big things that have to be done here. Number one, to get everything incorporated into it, right? Then I'll bring it back to an additional meeting to be able to run through all the stuff with you to make sure that we're all 100% clear on what's in the agreement. Okay? According to what Kensington on the property. Number two, we have to get the lease agreements done for the piece of property, so the long-term lease agreements, so that we would be able to go onto that property, and new lease agreements, like the word new, like they're not going to be based on like what we talked about at the meeting, so they're going to be the new lease agreements for both pieces of property, which is the fire department property and the new water treatment property on the corner of McLeod Road and Australia. Yes.
Okay, so on that note, can I have a motion to have the administrator continue on with negotiations with KIP with those caveats in place?
Yeah, we had a motion.
Yeah, we had a motion.
Okay.
From Vinton.
Can I get a second?
Oh, we got a second, we're voting.
Yeah.
We got to the ayes,
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and then we had a hesitation.
all right, fair enough.
Oh, we had a clarification.
Okay, that's fine, yeah, I get it.
Close.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, then you got your marching orders.
Did we vote?
Yeah, we did.
So what was the vote? I missed it, sorry.
I think we all voted to go ahead.
Was it,
Well, I hesitated, I was the hesitant one,
Okay.
because I'm really concerned that we,
yeah,
that it not be
We all-
what.
We're all
yeah,
concerned.
everybody's concerned, that's why we're
Do you
not.
want to vote on it again?
Yeah, I think we should vote on it again.
Okay, let's have a vote. Those in favor, raise their arms. Okay,
Yeah.
done. Okay, correspondence, we don't have anything. Okay, now, we'll now go to the question period, and we'll take some questions from you.
That was, by the way, I think, the first and only unanimous vote that we had.
No, we voted unanimously to give Gord the financial signing authority.
Right.
Yes, sir, your name?
Yeah, Eugene Rashowi from Spence Road.
Yes.
The question is related to the fact that we own the property on the top of the hill. Have we done or will we do cost analysis between the lease and the property which we already own and the staging of the filtration plant build between the two options? I'm not saying that one is better than the other, except that I'm going to be paying for it.
We all, we can,
I'm, just so everybody's aware of the room, I'm a landowner here as well.
Okay.
And I live in the community, I pay my taxes in the community, just like the rest of us do. And like, from a financial perspective, it's a very easy decision to go with a piece of property that on the corner of, I've talked about before. Musgrave and McLeod. I should break that down so I can look at it. The Musgrave thing
it's
is,
in the paper.
yeah. So anyways, like it's a minimum 750 or 500 to 750,000 dollars to just get to be able to build the infrastructure to get to the plant up on the piece of property up by the highway. Not only if you look at the security issues and everything else that goes along with the location on the corner of Musgrave, well, thank you. Yeah. Anyways, it's just far better from a strategic perspective. I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of time from a financial analysis perspective to be able to do it. And it's pardon me?
Sorry.
We will own it. We will own it, and as a landowner who wants my kids and grandchildren to grow up in this community, we will have, worst case scenario, we will have a long-term lease, a 20-year lease, with an option to extend as many times as we need to. So that land will be ours. Like, we're not going to enter into anything that our lawyer doesn't tell us that that's what the situation is going to be. So.
If I could ask a question, just following up on that was the only question I want to ask, is that I would just hope that it would not be the same lawyer that approved the previous water agreement was very flawed. You're going to use a different lawyer than was used at that time?
Oh, Bill, we haven't talked about a different lawyer at this time. I mean, Peter Johnson has been our lawyer, and all he does is supply an opinion, right? So he supplies an opinion. That opinion is shared with the board, and then from there we make a decision from there. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Just to add, is it on? Okay. That it also depends on what questions you ask of the lawyer. So the question, is it legal? You might get yes.
Correct.
Is it good for Union Bay? You might get no. It all depends on what questions are asked of the lawyer. And I think we're all aware of that, having learned from, or at least I hope we are, having learned from the real omissions in the previous agreement. So I, for one, am very cognizant of that, and I think the rest of the board is as well, that we will have some serious questions to ensure that Union Bay is protected. I will be doing that for sure.
Anybody else?
Tom Dernuski, 6810 Buckley Bay Frontage Road. I was previously a member of the Public Works Committee, and it has sort of disappeared. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's disappeared. I'm a retired engineer, so I've got a little bit of experience. But my question is twofold. One, with respect to the reservoir, our current reservoir, where it is, does not service the community properly. I know there was a lot of effort put in previously to locate a reservoir at a higher elevation, which would properly fire protect the community. Currently, it is not properly fire protected. The second question is, with respect to the agreement, is CVRD party to this settlement, or is CVRD separate? Whereas previously, CVRD was part of a third-party agreement, KIP, Union Bay, and CVRD.
Let me see if I can answer that. Yes, the CVRD is very much a part of this whole picture here. It has to be. That is why, for instance, we have to start out with a lease on this property at Musgrave and McLeod. The idea is we lease it for $1 a year with the option of buying it for $1. Once the developer gets subdivision approval. Now we're hoping that that will happen sooner rather than later, but we have to start out that way, and that's for the same reason we wanted the fire hall lands put in the same agreement, although it is in part of the master development plan for the area. By having it put in this agreement, it means that we can get possession of that property a lot sooner. With respect to water flow for fire protection, yes, you are correct in that we have a problem there. One area, I believe, out around Kilmarnock, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they have to, if they have a problem there, they have to rely on water from
It's even higher up in Union Bay, there's a problem.
yes.
It's actually above
Yeah, we're hoping to correct that issue with this new plant. We're giving serious consideration to putting in a proper above-ground steel reservoir, which is what most of the municipalities are going to. No more of this in-ground cement tanks. So that will give us a proper elevation to reduce the pressure. The only area in the community that has a pressure problem is where I live, up on 6th and 7th Street. The rest, I mean, down at the bottom of McLeod, you got 100 PSI. So, you know, I don't think the one problem we could have out towards Kilmarnock Way is not a question of pressure, but a question of volume. And we'll have to take steps to improve that.
Could I just,
yes.
I also encourage you, sir, to put your name forward for the Public Works Committee, because those committees are open and we are looking for members, financial committee as well, I believe. So please do, anybody, we do need some input on these issues.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, ma'am.
Joe Johnson, McKay Road.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. I'm having a little bit of problem kind of keeping this all together here. Here, we have a piece of property, we bought it, right?
Yes, we do, yeah.
Okay, we bought it. School thing, are we talking about here? Anyways, we have a piece of property that we bought.
Yes.
Okay. We could build it on that, $1.5 million, and have our own plant. So now we've got our own piece of land. Just a minute, I had this all in order here before right. We have to put in our own plant, we have to pay for it. Okay?
Yes.
So we have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Kip gets to keep the $8,900 a year. He's giving you the money up front, but he's getting it all back. Okay? So there's no CET for the UBID. We do not get the CET for 50 properties. Okay? Which,
yeah,
by the way, is
depending.
$445,000.
Yeah, depending on the size of the development he starts with. 30, I believe,
Okay, well,
it says 30 to 50.
is from $270,000 to $445,000
Correct,
that UBID will not get. We still
Correct.
have to pay for our own plant. We
Yeah.
own a piece of property.
Yeah.
We can have this new one, leased piece of property. The only thing we're getting out of this is a free piece of property for our fire department?
Yes,
And how much is that land worth?
3 acres up in that area up there, I guess is anybody's guess, it's worth quite a bit of money.
It's all residential area.
So 3 acres.
And then 4 acres for the water,
But
or
is
4
it-
acres for our,
Yeah, but we already own a piece of land. Could-
yeah, but like we said earlier, I don't know if you heard it, but it's gonna cost at least $500,000 before we even start. Before we
Get
even
up there?
start,
There's
yes,
no power up there.
there's no power,
There's no power.
upgrade.
Oh, there's no power.
Electricity.
Okay, got it, okay. So, and this don't, we're paying $1 a year lease for 5 years?
No,
That's
It
on
says
the
right here,
existing
you guys
site.
said it 5 years to complete and move to the new area.
no.
Well, 5
Here,
years.
I'll let
Sorry.
Mr. Mason answer.
What that means is that we have 5 years to move
Yeah,
the existing plant.
that's what I said, 5 years. So basically, we have to lease that land for 5 years. Because it belongs, the land to move over.
No, we're gonna lease that land for 20 years with long-term 20-year extensions. If
For $1 a
in the
year.
very worst scenario that we, no, if in the very worst scenario that we didn't get if Brian didn't get a subdivision through,
Yeah,
so we get 20 years lease for $1. Okay.
okay.
Then we get another 20-year lease after that, because we have option to approve. And then,
We can buy it for $1.
no, we can buy it for $1 when Brian gets his subdivision approval. Okay, we can buy it for $1.
Okay, and after that, if he doesn't get it, we have to keep.
No, we'll have a 20, to begin with, we'll have a 20-year lease. And then we'll have an option to approve for another 20 years. So that's 40 years. 40 years at least, okay? And like your point that you made earlier, why wouldn't we build up there? Well, I'm a landowner here, so if it's gonna cost us, we'll just use simple numbers, $150,000 for the plant, and then an extra, $500,000 to be able to get up there. That's $2 million. If we build on Brian's property, it saves the landowners here $500,000. So it gives us the option to do some of the things that this other gentleman talked about over here, which is maybe putting in a water tower, that serves the rest of the community a little bit better, right? So,
Well, it's just that I've been listening to this for 21 years. Okay,
We all have.
21 years.
yeah.
We all,
Still nothing's done.
Oh, this is
And it
done?
was supposed to be a free filtration system.
Yeah.
Free. And I said, first of all, nothing's ever free. Okay, nothing's ever free. What do we give in return? Well, the CPD. Yeah. So it's not free.
Country Road. So I think, the point about the property that we own already costing a lot of money to put power on.
It's not only power, it's also the road, the main cost, the power's one cost, I think the power's $150,000, but it's the main cost to be able to bring that road up to a standard that, we have to bring it up
I got it.
to
It's
highway
expensive.
standards,
Okay,
so.
the point the question I want to ask, or the thing that seems to be missing from the deal that you're making, is that for a few acres of land that cost him a mere pittance many, many years ago, he's getting to develop for free. I have to pay $8,900 if I buy a lot in Union Bay and have to develop, but he doesn't. That money, if he developed 50 lots, somebody times 8,900 times 50, 440. Well, that's power to our own land.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to clarify this because just to
Can you
clarify.
answer that, Mr. Mason, please? I'm directing my
Oh,
question.
yeah, okay, no, you're, Mr. McMahon will, say for example, he gave us $100,000 to increase the size of our existing plant to be able to put in an extra water filtration plant for him. Okay? He builds 50 lots, we'll just say they're 9, no, just let me finish.
We have to build a new treatment plant that's going, Vancouver Island Health mandated. It has nothing to do, we can't update that little chlorine filtration thing on this property now. We need a new plant, state of the art.
Oh, I understand that. I understand
Yeah.
that.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that as we're all well aware, Kip has huge ideas about building the possibility of 3,500 lots down the road, okay? But to begin with, it's really hard for me to try and get a point across if I'm constantly interrupting. We're not interrupting you, so I appreciate the courtesy that you guys do the same for us, okay? So what I'm trying to explain to you is that for every lot that Brian develops, there's an $8,900 charge that's gonna come back to us. If, like, Brian's planning on developing more lots down the road, he's asking us that he'll pay for the extra infrastructure to be able to put a larger DAP plan in place, to be able to service that stuff down the road. So he's gonna pay for that in advance, okay? So if, for example, that costs $100,000, okay, we got it, we all straight now? And then he builds 50 lots at, I'm just gonna use easy numbers for us to calculate here. If he builds 50 lots at $9,000 a lot, that's $450,000 that's gonna come back. He is only gonna get a credit for $100,000. We're gonna get the 350. Okay? He's only getting credit for what he puts in ahead of time. So it's a real advantage to us.
It saves us borrowing money.
And then if
That's what it does.
we have to build the infrastructure for him down the road. We have to, as part of our agreement to serve water to the area. So if we don't do it now with his input, then we gotta build a whole separate building, because we'll build our building too small. If we take the logic you're talking about, we'll build our building too small. We'll have to build an additional building, which will cost us a whole bunch more in the long run.
But if he's actually developing, he should be paying $8,900 per lot.
He is.
He is.
He's paying it up front and getting it back, and getting it back.
It's an interest-free loan.
It saves us borrowing the money. We could go borrow the money, and you can pay the interest, and then he can pay us when he hooks up. Or, we could get the money given to us for nothing, and it's paid back to him
Only
as he hooks up.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You didn't clarify that.
Yeah, we'll get money in all kinds of.
Yeah,
It's an interest-free loan. Yeah, we're not, basically what we're getting from is free land, okay? Eventually, that's what it will come to.
And that land is zoned residential, which is what land.
So,
Sell our water.
well, yeah, the other thing too, remember, the previous board in its wisdom, and I give them full marks for that, got a good buy on that piece of property. However, it would cost more to develop it than what we paid for it. Yes, ma'am?
Is it not correct that the land that our reservoir and treatment plant is on now is actual KIP land?
Yes, that's correct. We lease it
And we
from
haven't
them.
had any problem with that, him on that, owning that land and us using it for that, well, I've been here 20 years or better, so, you know, I mean, isn't that something to be said?
Yes, yeah, we did have, we won't get into that. However, did you want to address that, Trustee Lawson?
No, I just want to say this whole thing, the whole idea of this whole thing is building this without increasing our taxes. And that our parcel tax is enough as it is. And we feel that we can build this without raising any taxes with the help of KEP. And that's why, that's the reason we're looking at this direction.
I would also like to add this to what Trustee Dawson said, and we've said this all along, we will have to borrow money. We will have to borrow some money. There's no doubt about that. However, we do have good cash flow, and should we have to borrow, I'm going to say $1 million. I know it scares the pants off everybody, but I was reminded the other day that you can't buy a house in Victoria in some places for $1 million. However, we do, it should be in a fairly short-term turnaround. So, I'm sorry.
I just would like to add to that question about the leasing of the land and issues. That is why the administrator made a very clear point of referencing it as a new lease, because there have been issues with leasing, but we will make sure that the new lease does not have the onerous parts in it, which have bid us in the past. And that's why that new lease for both the fire hall land and the treatment plant land, that's a really key piece that we're working on, because it has been problematic.
Well, I'd like to get some from the audience.
Is it true that, sorry, I'll be real quick. Is it true that the old board never paid their rent for that property that they rented from Kip for the water treatment plant, that they never paid their rent?
Well,
Just, you know,
yes.
okay.
No, they didn't.
I just was hearing.
But the term $1 a year means that, in actual fact, no money.
So they
actually
didn't
takes
pay,
place.
okay.
No.
That is curious. You have to
To
pay.
make it legal, you have to give the dollar.
Well, in theory, yeah, but it never happens, okay? It's $1. Yes, sir.
Hello, Johnson, Planning Bay. My curiosity is where are the actual estimates, black and white estimates from different construction companies, whoever, IBEW, members or whatever, where are the estimates to have the electricity to that site up there, to plow the road up there? You know, like there's lots of construction companies on the island here that could possibly do this. I'm thinking of one of Hazelwood Construction. I showed Jack Whitaker the site. I showed him that there's a water pipe right there, and there's our property right there. He said, well, what's the big deal? I said, well, that's the big deal, it's electricity. And he said, well, what about this water? I said, well, motor grader, 20 minutes, job's done, Moose. Pay it, and that's it. So where are the black and white estimates for all these high root tooting, road snorting prices that you people have? Where are they?
Okay, we don't have an estimate for constructing the road. We did get an estimate. The previous board got an estimate from BC Hydro, a partial estimate to run phase 3 or 3-phase power to the site up there. Now you have to remember, you have to go under a high voltage transmission line and a high pressure gas line. So the problems are huge. The initial estimate was $150,000 just to get started. We never went any further with the getting an estimate on building the road and doing the grubbing and clearing and resurvey and everything, because at the time we felt that this was a much more attractive package, and I believe it is.
So that's very, very fine. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, and I will stand corrected on this, I think, is it Coors Engineering in Victoria? Was it Coors, whatever?
Coors, yeah, Parksville.
Did they not have a look at that land 20 years ago and told Brian this is a piece of property you should be buying for your water treatment plant?
Right.
I don't know that, sir.
Yes, he did.
Answer that.
Yeah, well, that's 21 years ago, so that's what I was on the understanding.
This lady over here has been waiting for a while, I'm sorry.
It's Alice Duell from Kilmarnock. One of my questions is well, several things, but in the end, who will own the system?
You will own the system. You people, everybody here will own the system.
With the lease agreement and all of the rest of that, who will actually, where is the ownership land, and what kind of power does KIP have if they hold a lease? In terms of
Well,
balance?
we have to negotiate a lease agreement with them, but it'll be a very stringent one. You have to remember that it's in his best interest to ensure that this deal goes ahead. He can't sell a lot without a water service agreement, okay?